Good morning, everybody. So we need to regroup here just a little bit. We need to look at this supporting arguments document that you completed the other day. This is going to be the basis for your research paper. So if this isn't right, you are going to have some serious problems. Okay? So let's look at this person's right here. This is Betty Sue, and her topic is free college. I'm going to go through each point, and what I'm going to do is show you good examples and bad examples. When we're done, you are going to go back through your supporting argument document for the assignment that you want to do, and you are going to make some changes. You are going to fine-tune this document. So Betty Sue, her thesis statement is college free tuition is not a reality. Is not a reality. So that tells me that everything on this document has to show that tuition-free college is not a reality, is not something that can be done, okay? So here's the first argument that she has, the first point. Free college in Europe isn't as successful as it seems. So a few things about this. First, we have contractions and we have the word it, and we can't have those in the end. This is specifically about Europe, so that means that all three of these would have to have something to do with Europe, because that's what she has up here. So let's read the 3 points that she has. The truth is that free college in Europe is no success story. Rather, it should serve as a cautionary tale for the United States. Okay, well, this statement right here is saying the exact same thing as this topic sentence. So this is not any kind of support. This is something that we simply do not need. This one will not work, okay? Don't want to use this one. Let's look at the second one. Many European countries that have experimented with free college are finding that approach to be simply unaffordable. Okay, so free college in Europe isn't as successful as it seems, and here you've just told me that it's unaffordable, so that's really the same thing. Again, this is not giving any kind of specific support for this idea. If this had some statistics included with it, why is it unaffordable? You're not proving a point here. This quote is not specific enough. This quote will not work. Finally, asking those who don't go to college to pay for education is wrong. Taxpayers, those who didn't go to college, spend more than $150 billion a year on loans, grants, and government programs. All right, so we're going to stop here. There's a few things wrong with this statement, okay? Number one, I feel like it was copied wrong because it tells me that taxpayers are people who didn't go to college. I don't believe that that's 100% true. There's lots of taxpayers who did go to college. I went to college and I am a taxpayer. Second thing that's wrong with this is it doesn't support this topic. Free college in Europe isn't successful. This does not show me anything about Europe and it being unsuccessful, okay? And it needs more background information. Asking those who didn't go to college to pay for college education is wrong. What are we talking about here? Again, that has nothing to do with this. So if I wanted to use this point, free college in Europe isn't successful, I would need 3 new facts. None of these are okay to use. The other thing that's wrong with this is that all 3 of them came from Article 1. You cannot do that. Each point has to have information from at least 2 different articles. Let's look at the second point. The second point here is 12 years of school isn't cutting it anymore. So the first thing that's wrong with this is slang. This is not research paper material. You can't use a contraction, you can't use the word it, and you can't say isn't cutting it anymore. Something better here might be in order to be successful, one needs more than 12 years of college. That would make it more specific, it would make it more academic, it would make it more well-rounded, and it would make it not slang. So let's just take what she does have written. 12 years of school isn't cutting it anymore, so let's see what she says to support that. We have now arrived at a stage in the country's economic development where 12 years of education is not sufficient. Well, this says the exact same thing as this. Again, so this is not proving this point. This needs to be taken out, completely deleted. This is not okay. Second point, the world has grown sufficiently complex that 16 years of education, once viewed as a luxury affordable by only a tiny elite, have become standard preparation for the types of jobs that are growing in number, such as high-tech computer programming jobs, rather than those that are shrinking in number. This is good. We can keep this one. The reason this is good is because it shows why 12 years of school isn't enough. It tells us that we need 16 years of education for high-tech computer programming jobs. It gives me a specific example, things that are growing in number with this specific example. Now, I don't know what country this is because it says something about the country. No, that was in this sentence. I don't know where this is that you need 16 years for computer programming, but this is a quote from the text, so you're going to have to put it into context, but this one can work. This does support this idea. Let's look at this last one. 16 years of schooling is no longer a privilege for the elite as it once may have been. It is a vital necessity for individuals, for society. Again, this one is not telling me anything at all. It doesn't tell me why it's a necessity. It doesn't tell me why it's important. It doesn't tell me why 12 years of school isn't cutting it. It just simply repeats the topic again. So for this point number 2, the only one that can stay is this. These two need to be gotten rid of, and we need to look for another article because again, all 3 came from Article 4. So she would need to, she's keeping this one from Article 4. She needs to go to any of her other articles and find 2 more facts that support this idea. Most of the time, the support is best if it comes with a quote from an expert or if it has some statistical data. That is the best way for you to improve these. Point number 3, free college isn't a thing. All right, number 1, we've got the word isn't, and we have the word thing, and these are all dead words and contractions, and we can't use them. You're not texting. This is supposed to be academic. So how about free college isn't really free, or free college is not really free? That would be better. This is better, okay? Free college is not really free. Okay, so let's see. Let's see what we have here. For that spring semester, I had to pay back $639. This has potential. It's clear that there's a backstory here. We don't know the backstory, so if you were going to use this to support the idea that free college isn't free, you'd have to give us the backstory on this one, because clearly whoever this is had to pay back $639. So it wasn't free for this person. So with the backstory, this one is okay. It's a little bit weak. Let's look at the next one. She babysits and tutors, and her mother, who works in housekeeping, helps cover nearly $1,000 in expenses each semester. She knows that's relatively cheap for college, but says that because of Exixler, the cost was unexpected. Okay, I don't know what Exixler is, and if you've read these articles, and you probably do. If you haven't read this article, this is something to keep in mind whenever you're writing. If you're going to start using the names of places that are not common knowledge to everybody, you're going to have to explain them. So maybe this has a backstory. It's letting us know that something in college is costing this person $1,000 a semester, so it's not free. Is it really supporting the idea that college is not free? I mean, clearly this person has to pay for it. So maybe it's showing the expenses that come along with college and that people have to work extra hard in order to cover all of their costs. So this is okay. This is pretty weak. I'd probably take this one out, but it could stay. It does sort of support that. This last point, free would have to be paid for with tax dollars. And looking at college's current tuition and fee revenue and income directly from the government gives a rough sense of how much it would cost. Using the most recent federal data, it comes to roughly $339 billion annually, or about $1,360 for every adult in the United States. If you live to age 75 and pay that annually in taxes starting at age 18, that's $77,500. Not free at all. This is perfect. This is a great quote that shows how free college isn't really free. Because if we say that the government is paying for college, clearly the government has to get the money from somewhere. Here is where they would get it from. This makes it very clear to me that they have to get that money from taxes. And what that equates to is people starting at age 18 paying taxes and $1,360 every single year, equaling $77,500 total if you live to age 75, makes it not free at all. That the taxpayers are actually paying for it well beyond them not actually being in college. This is the best quote we have to prove college is not really free. If this was my document, I would keep this first one and provide a backstory. I would keep this last one, and I would find a new one for this quote right here, okay? This would be okay because she has this one's from Article 3, this one's from Article 6, so that's a great thing. I like this article because it's giving some specific facts and dollar amounts, so I might go back to Article 6 to find something to replace this one with. I think that would be best. Let's look at one more point. I know you only had 3 points, but we added another one on here. Free college can create a higher rate of equality in America. All right, so this is an idea of for free college. We want free college. So if a person wants free college and they say that free college can create a higher rate of equality, that tells me that all 3 of these facts have to show that college is creating equality. So let's look at this. Free public college has a potential to narrow the education gap in the United States. However, without judicial implementation, the federal government risks widening it even more. Well, sort of. It does mention closing this education gap, which would create a higher rate of equality. But it also mentions that we'll never have free college unless the judicial branch of our government gets involved to make it happen. So this one we can keep, but we may need to add a little more information. In 2019, the total amount of student loan debt in America was estimated to be $1.6 trillion. Okay, this has absolutely nothing to do with a higher rate of equality in America. This one has to go. That's a no-go. 60% of graduates taken out at least one student loan. All right, so 2 things here. 1, this has nothing to do with equality again. So this quote will not work. But the second thing I want to point out about this quote is that it is written down wrong. This is not what it said in the document. It couldn't have because this makes no sense. It probably should have said 60% of graduates in college have taken out at least one student loan. Really important that whenever you're quoting something, you are quoting it accurately. So for this one, both of these, done. They need to go, and we need to find something new. So I want to summarize what we're talking about here, okay? You have your thesis statement. After your thesis statement, you should have point number 1. Bring this down. You have point number 2, and you have point number 3. Each of these points has 3 quotes that support it and explain why or how the idea is correct. If your 3 quotes don't support that point and explain anything, then they're wrong. Guys, if they can't add to it, they don't make it real in some way, then you have to get rid of them, okay? Each of these 3 quotes have to support the point. Support it. That's the point. They have to support the point. Also, each of these 3 points have to support the thesis. If your point doesn't support your thesis, it is also not going to do you any good. So what you're going to do now is go back through the document for the thesis that you want to use. You're going to go through each point just like I did on this document, and you're going to think in your head, does this point support my thesis? Yes or no? If it does, good. Then you're going to look at the 3 quotes you selected. Each quote you're going to look at and say, does this quote support my point? Yes or no? Does it give additional information? It can't restate it. It has to give additional information. If it does, then you can keep it. If it does not, you need to delete it. When you're done and you've looked at all 3 points, go back and make sure that for each point, you have your information coming from at least 2 different articles. I will provide a checklist that I will attach to the agenda after this video.